Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today we are bringing you raids involving witches. Are raids with witches dead? Our leader dropped a challenge to me to try and mix some witch raids with some Valks, and here are some of the results. First base I decided to test this on just happened to be a dead base, but this would work out nicely because it would give me a good sense of how the troops were going to path. If the skeletons would get too far ahead of the Valks and it would disrupt their AI, or if the Valks would get too far ahead of the witches and go down too quickly. So we're going to earthquake out the middle of this one, drop some wall breakers, have a nice little wall breaker fail. At this point, I really thought I wasn't going to be able to do too much in this raid after the fail. Dropped a raid spell, which was very poorly placed, again causing me to think that this raid was going nowhere fast. Witches all go to the right near that Wiz tower, so we're going to freeze that, try to let the Valks break through the walls and get the witches through as well. Drop the raid spell there. Valks are clearing the right side of the base, and at this point I'm thinking that 50% is very easily done. A 2-star is very much in sight, but nowhere am I thinking that there's a 3-star waiting to happen. The entire right side of this base is clear. The Queen's still up, King's down, Warden's helping those witches out. If you count the witches, I started this with 8 of them, and all but 1 of them is still up at this point. The Queen's clearing out that bottom left-hand side of the base. Meanwhile, the witches are cleaning up the remainder of the left-hand side. Spawning their skeletons, they will overcome the Wiz tower, and at this point there is just 2 defensive left keeping this base up. The Warden with his range is easily able to take out the Archer tower as it's focused on the skeletons. And the remaining structures of this base are soon to be down as well, for what turns out to be a 3-star with many mistakes being made. So we take this raid back into multiplayer just to see what happens on a base that is pretty nicely maxed out. We're going to drop the Earthquake, open up that center. Drop the wall breakers, open up that outer layer of walls. Golem's going to go down to tank. Wizards are coming in behind to help get the funnel created for the Valks and the witches. Creating the funnel is very important for the witches and the Valks as they both go for the nearest targeted object on the map. Without creating the funnel, they do tend to run all over the place. This base has Giants in the CC. We're gonna freeze the Eagle and Inferno Tower and Rage in the middle. Valks and witches and their skeletons clean up the middle of this pretty quickly. After the middle's taken care of, there's a Archer Queen going to the right hand side with a couple skeletons tanking for her. Golem, King, and Warden go to the left hand side. And there are a couple witches remaining in this as well. And it looks like there's 1 Valk in here yet too. Queen comes around towards the top hand side. We're going to rage up the King. Warden's still there. And here's what works out nicely. If you see that top side, the Valk gets far enough ahead of the witches and skeletons to trigger that giant bomb, which will keep the witches alive. I think that's something very important in this, is letting the Valks trip the bombs and letting the witches just overrun bases.